I think it's fair to say that most of us love Italian food, and in my opinion, very little beats a delicious plate of pasta or a mouth-watering pizza. What's your favourite Italian dish? Let me know below. But have you ever wondered why it's so hard to sometimes find great, authentic Italian food in the UK? Do you get tired of the same old Americanised versions of Italian food that seems to be the norm in so many Italian restaurants? I'm talking about the types of Italian food that I certainly grew up on, and to be honest, I've got a massive soft spot for them when I cook them at home. But they do generally deviate from traditional Italian recipes and use ingredients that are not commonly found in Italy. Now, I've definitely been guilty of adding things like cheddar cheese to my lasagna, but clearly cheddar is not a traditional Italian cheese and would not be used in an authentic Italian dish. Now, I'm not saying you have to be born and bred Italian to make authentic Italian food, but it's important for restaurants to take the time and effort to truly understand the provenance, history and execution of a traditional dish. And I'm confident that today's Dining Fable will have no worries about this. So we're off to dine at Caldesi In Campagna in Bray, run by genuine Italian, local legend, prolific cookbook writer and sometimes TV chef Giancarlo Caldesi. So join us at the Dining Fable to see if authenticity and creativity come together in perfect harmony. Can Giancarlo and his team right the wrongs of bad Italian food in the UK? So let's eat out. The first thing to try at Caldesi's was some delicious homemade bread, including Rosemary Focaccia, Parmesan grissini and some simple brown bread. But as this is fine dining, they also brought a wonderful surprise of arancini as an amuse-bouche. Arancini is basically made by turning risotto into a ball, stuffing it with cheese and then rolling it in breadcrumb coating before deep frying. And in this case it was made from porcini mushrooms and pecorino cheese, served on a bed of creamy celeriac puree and flaked almonds on the side. It was absolutely delicious and gave me a great hint of the special meal that was about to come. The flavours were well balanced, with the nuttiness of the almonds and the earthy robustness of the porcini mushrooms complementing each other, and the celeriac puree was a wonderful foil for the arancini, adding a smooth, velvety texture that rounded out the dish. I was also served a selection of homemade breads, including a fragrant rosemary focaccia, crispy Parmesan grissini, and a simple but delicious brown bread. The focaccia was really good, with a soft, pillowy texture and was packed with bold flavour of rosemary. But for me it was the Parmesan grissini that truly stole the show, which is a traditional long and thin bread of the Piedmont region. And at Caldesi's, these thin and crispy breadsticks were loaded with the rich, nutty flavour of Parmesan cheese. Special mention has to be made for delicious balsamic vinegar and olive oil. The vinegar was incredibly fruity and had a rich, syrupy texture, while the oil was smooth and had a lovely flavour. So much so I couldn't help double dipping, but as it's only me here, that's okay. Next, it's the antipasti, which simply refers to a dish that precedes all others. Now, you've got to love Italian food. The fact they've got a food course before the actual food is served is so cool. And I've gone for the Carpaccio of marinated beef fillet with mustard and lemon dressing, rocket and Parmesan shavings. And I was just blown away by the quality of the beef. The fillet was incredibly tender and melt in your mouth delicious. The mustard and lemon dressing was a brilliant complement to the rich flavour of the beef, adding just the right amount of tang and zing. Thankfully, the dressing wasn't too overpowering. It was well balanced, with the mustard adding depth and the lemon adding a bright, fresh flavour. It would be all too easy to lose the subtle flavour of the fillet with a sauce that was too punchy, but no need to worry as the level here was spot on. The rocket and Parmesan shavings were a great finishing touch, providing a bit of bite and an extra layer of peppery flavour. In addition to its amazing flavour, the Carpaccio was also a feast for the eyes. The thin slices of beef were arranged with care, and the mustard and lemon dressing was drizzled over the top with an elegant swirling pattern. It's made for such a colourful dish. I love the powerful pops of red, green and yellow. It's a food photographer's dream, really. Now, I know that any kind of raw protein can be a bit off-putting for some, but I would highly recommend this dish to anybody looking for a delicious and satisfying antipasti option. And it's just the right amount, so you won't be too full for the pasta course coming up next. So I can promise you, if you're brave enough to give it a go, you won't be disappointed. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. If it's making you hungry, it'd be amazing if you could like this video or subscribe to the channel. Grab a fork and get involved. Right, here comes the bit I've been looking forward to the most. It's pasta time. It was a really tough decision, but I eventually settled on the sea bass ravioli, lemon butter sauce and tomato concasse. I love sea bass, and I cook it a lot at home, but I've never actually seen it used in a pasta dish before, so I'm in, and beyond excited to give it a try. When the ravioli arrived, I was immediately struck by the vibrant colours, the bright yellows, the pops of red from the tomatoes, and the flashes of green from the herbs, which I'm guessing is parsley. I was a little worried that sometimes pasta can be hard to photograph, as it's often covered in sauce which obscures the pasta. Thankfully not here. Let's just hope it tastes as good as it looks. Again, I needn't have worried, as the ravioli is divine, and you can immediately tell that this ravioli was freshly made. It has a tender texture and the filling is carefully incorporated, resulting in a seamless and delicious bite. I had to ask my server Tom about the pasta dish. It turns out the ravioli is so popular that it's always made fresh on the day. It's then cooked to order in only about 2 minutes, so it arrives at the table in peak pasta perfection. Now, in my humble opinion, the use of sea bass in the ravioli was a stroke of genius. It has a subtlety of flavour that elevates it beyond many pasta dishes I've had in the past. The rich sea bass is still flaky, so it's been expertly cooked and complements the light and tender pasta, creating a unique and memorable pasta dish. And I can certainly appreciate why they can't take this one off the menu. Now, the lemon butter sauce was particularly noteworthy, as it's been wonderfully crafted and adds a delicious brightness to the dish without overpowering the delicate sea bass flavours. Its balance of tangy lemon and rich butter creates a sauce that is both light and fresh, yet feels indulgent and extravagant. What do you think of my dining choices so far? Would you prefer the carpaccio or the pasta dish? Let me know in the comments below. And now, my fellow dining fablers, it's time for the main event, the heavyweight championship of Italian cuisine, the second course. Or perhaps more accurately, the secondo piatto, as I'm sure the Italians would rather I called it, even if I can't quite pronounce it properly. It's the course that's going to pack a punch and leave you feeling satisfied, full and in all likelihood for me, ready for a nap. It's the perfect follow-up to the pasta course, which thankfully was balanced just right to still leave me feeling hungry and ready for more. The secondi is all about the meat, the fish and the poultry, served with sides that make your taste buds do a happy dance. So what did I choose? Well, it's the first time for having lamb on this channel, and what better way to celebrate that than to have it served 2 ways. I ordered the slow-cooked lamb shoulder and herb crust cutlet, carrot cream and a potato cake. So I started with the lamb cutlet, which was truly amazing. The cut itself comes from the prime loin of the lamb, ensuring top-notch quality in terms of both taste and tenderness. The herb crust was a delightful surprise, with the crunch of the breadcrumb adding an extra dimension of texture. Apparently the crust was made by drying out some homemade bread, then adding thyme and oregano, which combined to create an irresistible and wonderful crunch. The cutlet itself was beautifully cooked to a perfect medium rare, just as a lamb cutlet should be. The delicate balance between the tender lamb and the crunchy herb crust elevated this dish to a new level, making it absolutely delicious. Now, the cutlet is clearly the most expensive cut of lamb on the plate, but it's actually the slow-cooked shoulder of lamb that I'm most excited about. According to Tom, the shoulder of lamb has been slow-cooked for a whopping 7.5 hours, with all the bones and fat intact, to allow the flavours to really concentrate. It's going to be the real deal. And I can safely say that this slow-cooked lamb shoulder is a true revelation. The meat is just so tender, it's like it's almost melting in your mouth. It's just amazing how the hours of slow cooking have made the meat so incredibly soft and flavourful. And strangely, even though I'm not typically a fan of fat, the fat on this dish is an absolute game changer. It almost dissolves directly on your tongue, adding even more flavour to an already delicious dish. I swear, you don't even need to chew it, it's that soft and tender. Clearly this is something Giancarlo and head chef Gregorio know all about. In fact, Gregorio has been with Giancarlo for 25 years and at the restaurant in Bray since it opened 15 years ago, so between them the knowledge level is off the scale. Now, the potato cake, which is a bit similar to the French dish dauphinoise potatoes, adds an extra layer of texture and richness to the plate. The creamy and buttery texture of the potato pairs well with the slow-cooked lamb, creating a harmonious blend of flavours. To be honest, I don't know whether there's a traditional Italian equivalent to dauphinoise potatoes, but at this stage, it's of little concern as the dish works so well and elevates the overall experience. But do you know what? Thankfully there's only a small square of it, otherwise I think I might be starting to get a bit too full. Finally, the sweet and velvety texture of the carrot puree is a perfect contrast to the bold flavours of the lamb, and its bright orange colour adds a touch of freshness and lightness to an otherwise rich and hearty dish. The combination of the lamb, potato cake and carrot puree makes for a well-balanced and delicious meal that has not failed to impress. So what's my takeaway from Caldesi In Campagna? Well, we started this dining table with a clear mission to try and find authentic Italian cuisine, and I think it's fair to say we found it at Caldesi In Campagna. Their menu is a brilliant mix of authentic Italian food, combined with creativity, passion and an understanding of Italian food history that celebrates everything from simple pasta to a multi-course feast. My meal was a real tour de force of Italian food. The slow-cooked shoulder of lamb was a masterclass in how to elevate a cheaper cut of meat to new heights, and the subtle yet flavourful herb-crusted cutlet was a standout too. But what was my favourite? Well, I have to say it was probably between the Carpaccio and the sea bass ravioli. There's such a dilemma. But you know what, on this occasion I think I'm going to bottle it and say they're both as good as each other, and I don't think you'd be disappointed with either. Each dish was a triumph, leaving me completely satisfied yet yearning for more. I can't wait to go back and try some of the other ones. This is certainly not a cheap meal, and in my opinion you should definitely consider it fine dining, so be aware of this going in. But if you value great service, quality, skill, authenticity and most importantly deliciousness all served up in a wonderful location, then Caldesi should definitely be on your radar. And you can be sure that you'll be treated to a meal that celebrates the depth and richness of Italian cuisine, with a warm Italian family welcome. As always, thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end of this dining fable from Caldesi In Campagna. If you're inspired to go, then check them out online and let me know in the comments below what you're planning on eating. Are you looking for an amazing restaurant this weekend or over the coming months? Then why not watch the restaurant playlist coming up now? We're trying to build our community here on YouTube, so if you like what we're doing, grab a fork and get involved. And if you feel like subscribing, we'd love to have you join us at the Dining Fable next time.